What's happening, team? Liam from Lazarus Personal Training, and this is another edition of Taking It Home, my weekly roundup. So getting straight into it, I'm going to talk about a conversation that I had earlier on this week where we were talking about grip on a deadlift. So I was told about a conversation that happened where someone said, please, for the love of God, use a mixed grip on your deadlift. This person was a power lifter. Now, when we're looking at grip on a deadlift, we have a double overhand position, which palms are facing you, and then we have a mixed grip position where one is facing you and one is facing away. The mixed grip position tends to be the one that people go for a lot, but I think it is overutilized, and there is a time and a place to use it. But when is that time and place? I would always say you want to work on your double overhand position for as long as you possibly can. Why? Because we need to build up symmetry in the body. The reason why we use a mixed grip is because we are trying to bypass a lack of grip in our weaker arm. So when we go into a mixed grip position, it stops the bar rolling away from us. We incorporate a little bit more bicep into it, and that the underhand position, a supine position, tends to be a stronger grip position than a pronated position. So with that, if we are using a mixed grip, we can lift more weight because we are in a stronger and more advantageous position. But if we are doing that constantly, we are pulling one shoulder forward where the other shoulder is sat back. We are recruiting more bicep in one side than we are on the other side. The forearms are activating differently, and we are building in asymmetry in the body, especially if a mixed grip is the only thing we use. And I see it time and time and again in the gym where people instantly go into a mixed grip position. Doesn't matter what they're doing with the barbell. If it's a lower body exercise, boom, they are mixed grip. It might not have any weight on it. It might be lightweight into it. But I would always advise to go into a double overhand position, because then we work on the strength of the weaker side. We work on the grip of the weaker side. We allow that symmetry to start sitting in. And sometimes we just need to work to our weaker end. So if that deadlift starts to fail out, we can't lift as much because that grip's gone, that's fine. We then come back in next time, try and hit that again, and we're working on that grip strength. I would always advise work to your weakest aspect. Let's say, for example, we're doing bicep curls. On your right side, you can grab a 10 kilogram weight and you can do it for 10 reps. But on your weaker side, that same 10 kilograms, you can only hit for 7. Well then, that weaker side needs to get up to the point where it can hit a set of 10 with the 10s before you even think about progressing on the other side. Because again, we're not looking to build asymmetry, we're looking to build symmetry in the body. So when it comes to a deadlift position, double overhand position for as long as you can. If we are working more maximally, if we're going heavier weight, building up to a 3 or a 1 rep max, at that point, let's look at switching that grip to get around that bicep, to get around that grip, to incorporate a little bit more bicep and to get a little bit more of an advantageous position. But that should come after time. It shouldn't be a beginner thing. It should be immediate to advanced when we are using a mixed grip position. And then there's other things that we can use like chalk, like straps, but that's a conversation for a totally other time. Something that I experienced this week was on Tuesday, I had a very early morning session for myself. I had someone in the gym at 8:30, and I thought, well, I can train after that point. It's going to be a little bit later, it's going to eat into my day a little bit, or I have the time to train before them. So for the first time since lockdown has happened, I trained at 6 a.m. and let me tell you, it kicked my ass. I was ironically doing deadlifts, and despite the weight I had programmed in being the way that I'd used before and moving quite nicely, on Tuesday, where I was working out at 6 a.m, it was hard and it was heavy, and that's because my body wasn't used to working out at that time. Despite it being a few hours, my body clock had changed. I wasn't used to working out in the morning. This is in contrast to pre-lockdown, where I was working out 5:30, 6 pretty much every single session that I had, and I was feeling pretty okay for it. If we are looking to change the times that we are training, or if you are changing for one session and then going back, we need to take that into consideration as to how that might affect our body. If it is a short-term thing, you need to train once then and you're back to normal, take that into consideration with the weights that you are choosing. You might have to go slightly lighter because the body might just not be used to that position at that time. If you are training earlier on, it might not have a meal in it, or it might have less food in you than previous. It might be a case that as you're still waking up, the body's still getting tuned on, whereas later on in the day, you're already awake. If you are changing to that time consistently, let's say you've been working out in an evening and the gym's busy and you're not getting in after work and you think, you know what, I'm just going to train in the morning. At that point, we need to take into consideration the same thing, but let's take those weights down a little bit and hit consistently in the morning. So that means let's just get those morning sessions in and then start building up from there. And then we will find the consistency, and then we can take the weights back up to where they were. So again, we need to take into consideration that we might have to drop the weight down a little bit, but we then need to do that for a long term rather than it being a short term hit. And then on the topic of evening sessions, Alan, who I work with, and I've got his top on right here, and you can check out all his socials that I'm going to put here by the magic of editing. I hope I've done that right. Oh, I was a little bit under. There, boom, it's going to be here. We were talking about a session that he'd had this week where the gym was, for some reason, ridiculously busy. He couldn't get on everything that he wanted to get on, and the session that we had planned was a little bit hit and miss because he just couldn't get to the exercises that he needed to get to. But he went into the gym and he said afterwards, you know what, previously I might have sacked that off, so I'm glad that I did it. And that, for me, as a personal trainer and an online coach, is absolutely what I want to hear. Because without consistency, we never make progress. And sometimes consistency means working out on days that we probably don't want to work out on. Or it means trying to do the best that we can in a busy environment. For Alan, that meant his next session, there was a couple of exercises that he had to move across, and he made do with what he could do in the gym. So let's say, for example, you go into the gym and you are meant to hit a barbell back squat. But the squat racks are busy and they stay busy after you've done your warm up, you've patted around a little bit, you've walked around the gym and you're like, these aren't coming open. Could you go to a leg press and load a leg press up because that is still a squat motion under a heavy load? Or could you go to the dumbbells and find a heavy dumbbell and do some couple squats with a dumbbell? Or is it a case that everything is busy and you need to do something else? Could you switch a day? So rather than doing lower body, you do upper body. Or is it a case that you just need to go into a corner somewhere and do some time under tension bodyweight squats to get your body moving and salvage that gym session? But the fact that we've been in, we've done something and then got out again is perfect because that builds in consistency. I would much rather have someone say, couldn't do this, but I did this and this and this instead. Perfect. Rather than it being a case of, just didn't go in today. Because if we didn't go in today, if we don't take any steps, we go backwards. So we need to get in and we need to keep that consistency up and rolling, which is exactly what Alan did, and he's absolutely killing it. And then to round out with, I've got a couple of sporting performances or sporting things that are coming up that we've had to tailor training around. So Sean, who I work with in Total Fitness, is a Gaelic football player and his team are in the final today. I don't know the result. I'm hoping he's won, but nevertheless, we had a session on Friday. Now with that, we took that into consideration that we had the game coming up on Sunday, and our Friday session was a lot lighter. We did some barbell floor pressing. We spent a lot more time on the warm-up. We had a circuit which was plyometric and fewer reps and a little bit more sets out of it. We did some movement into the hips. And why? Because we are preparing him for his game that is coming up, that is super important, that he needs to be super fresh for. What we didn't need to do there was go heavy deadlifts, let's hit it, or you've got DOMs for 3 days. I guess that finals out the question. So when it comes to sporting performance, we need to tailor the rest of our work week to that. There is no point being like, boom, I'm hitting PBs on squats and deadlifts and benching. But then when it comes to the game that we want to play and that we are training for that to suffer because we are spending too much focus on the gym. If you've got a show, when we get shows back coming up at the weekend, again, same thing with the game, we need to make sure that our training fits that. Do we then need to train heavy at the beginning of the week to then tailor in and taper off towards the back end of the week? Is our Friday session a pump and fluff session where we go, I'm feeling good, I'm moving good, I've got a bit of a pump into my arms, and I've got a bit of an ab workout in, so then I feel good going into the weekend, rather than it being heavy squats, heavy deadlifts, I'm dead, I've got DOMs. Those are the things that we need to take into consideration when it comes to long-term programming, especially if we are factoring in sports and sports entertainment into our working out lifestyle. Those are all my bits for this week. A bit of a mixed bag of stuff. I hope you found this informative. I hope I've covered a couple of things that might be useful. If you've got any further questions, hit me up on Instagram at Lazarus_PT and we can go back and forth on it. I've still got a couple of slots available for online coaching that I would love to fill. So if you're interested in it and I've spoke about a couple of things that you feel like you need a bit more help with, get in touch and let's get that sorted. If you've liked this video, give it a like, subscribe to the channel, and I will see you next time.